might think you know what Pauline, the first ever Mario damsel in distress, sounds like.
I'll be your one-up girl.
She has a memorable voice, right? Except that's not the only voice Pauline has had.
If Donkey Kong falls into the hands of an unscrupulous person, oh, there's no telling what'll happen.
Oh, Mario, my hero.
Everything is under control, I promise you.
Pauline's voice has been through a whole lot of changes in the past 43 years, and in today's video I want to document all of that. I'll talk about where Pauline's first ever voice came from. We'll take a listen to clips of the weird and wonderful voices she's had in the past, and finally, I'll tell you the story of where her current voice came from. Here's why Pauline doesn't sound like she used to. Part 1. The Arcade Era. You've never heard Pauline's first voice. That's because it was cut from the game before release. You see, in the original Donkey Kong arcade game, Shigeru Miyamoto wanted Pauline, or as she was known at the time, Lady, to cry out "help" at regular intervals, and when Mario leapt over barrels, he wanted her to shout "nice" to cheer him on. And so it came to the game's sound designer, the legendary Hirokazu Hip Tanaka, to create these sound effects. But rather than record a real woman shouting "help" and "nice", Tanaka used a synthesizer to create these sounds digitally. Take a listen to the results. Now, when Miyamoto and the other developers working on Donkey Kong heard these sound effects, they weren't super happy with the result. Miyamoto said, "Some in the company were worried the pronunciation might be off. So we had a native English speaker who was an English conversation teacher listen to it, and that person thought she was talking about seaweed. In other words, she thought it sounded like kelp rather than help." Now, who this woman was is a bit of a mystery. According to Tanaka's own recollections, she may have been the daughter of Nintendo president Hiroshi Yamauchi. However, whoever she was, Miyamoto and team took note of her scathing opinion and decided to remove the voice lines from the game. It was too late to replace them with new recordings, so instead, simple sound effects took the place of Hip Tanaka's synthesized voice lines. Which means that in the final version of Donkey Kong, the version which was played by millions around the world, the damsel in distress remained silent. But that was never the original intention of the game's creators. However, it wouldn't be long before Pauline would receive her first true voice, and that came when Donkey Kong was adapted into an animated cartoon. Part 2. The Cartoons. In 1983, US TV network CBS began airing a show called Saturday Supercade, which adapted a number of popular arcade games of the era into cartoons. These games included Cubert, Frogger, and of course, Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr. And it's in the Donkey Kong sections of Saturday Supercade that we get to hear Donkey Kong, Mario, and Pauline speak for the first time. Or is it? You see, only months before the show aired, a handful of commercials were broadcast for the Nintendo Game & Watch, and also for some official Donkey Kong breakfast cereal. None of the characters speak in the Game & Watch advert, but in the cereal commercials, we hear Mario and Pauline speak for the first time ever.
Mario, save me! Help! Help!
Pauline is voiced by jazz singer and voice actress JoBelle Yonley, who was, according to her own website, the first cool studio singer and voice actor in the busy Chicago scene for more than 20 years. She has recorded thousands of TV and radio commercials and is the solo voice for spots including major clients such as McDonald's,
United Airlines, Sears,
Wrigley's, Coors, Budweiser, Special K Cereal, Hallmark, Sunkist, Honda, HBO, and the Lifetime Channel.
It's no surprise then that when these DK cereal adverts were produced in the early 80s, Jo Bell was the person they called to play the iconic damsel. But when months later, Saturday Supercade began airing on CBS, it was a different voice viewers heard from the lips of Pauline.
Here you go, Mario. If Donkey Kong falls into the hands of an unscrupulous person, oh, there's no telling what'll happen. Just put that emerald right back where you found it.
In this new cartoon, the role of Pauline was taken on by actress Judy Strangis. Strangis was best known at the time for appearing in the ABC drama Room 222 and the campy superhero show Electra Woman and Diner Girl, where she played the latter character. In the early 70s, Strangis began appearing in a number of Hanna-Barbera cartoons, which eventually led to her getting cast in Saturday Supercade, which wasn't produced by Hanna-Barbera, but was produced by a number of former Hanna-Barbera staff.
Mario, are you all right? Come on, we've got to find Donkey Kong before it's too late.
For many kids of the 80s, this is the voice that they would have pictured when they thought of Pauline. But once Nintendo released the game Super Mario Bros. In 1985, Pauline fell by the wayside in favor of the new Mario damsel in distress, Princess Peach, or Toadstool as she was often known. In Nintendo's own games, Pauline was practically forgotten about. Until, that is, she returned with a new look and a new voice. Several new voices. Part 3. Mystery Women. Donkey Kong 94 is a fascinating Game Boy game. For the first 4 stages, the game pretends to be a simple Game Boy port of the original Donkey Kong arcade game, before it drops the curtain and reveals itself to be an inventive, in-depth puzzle platformer instead. Now, as Donkey Kong 94 obviously takes heavy cues from the original Donkey Kong arcade game, this means the return of Pauline after a long absence. She gets a complete redesign too, which you'll recognize as not dissimilar from the modern design of the character. And if you're playing this game on your Game Boy, you'll get to hear Pauline speak. Kind of. Yeah, this being a Game Boy game, Pauline is limited to 8-bit screeches. Except, Donkey Kong 94 was the first game Nintendo released featuring enhancements when played on a Super Game Boy. If you didn't know, the Super Game Boy was a peripheral which allowed people to play Game Boy games on their Super NES. And a number of games released after this thing came out offer special color modes and enhanced audio. Take a listen to Donkey Kong 94 as played on the Super Game Boy.
Help! 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 Help!
That's right. If you play Donkey Kong 94 on a Super Game Boy, you can hear a special voice clip of Pauline crying, "Help!" As for who the woman's voice is, that remains a mystery, unfortunately. Perhaps it's a Nintendo employee, or could it be a synthesized voice similar to Hip Tanaka's cut voice clips from the original Donkey Kong? Either way, this is not the only mystery woman we'll come across. Owing to the success of Donkey Kong 94 on the Game Boy, Nintendo decided to create a series of puzzle platformers called Mario vs. Donkey Kong, starting on the Game Boy Advance. And as you might expect, Pauline is present in a number of these games, which means that we get to hear more voice lines from the classic Mario damsel. Here's a chart of all 8 Mario vs. Donkey Kong games, including the recent remake. Here are the games in which Pauline appears, and of those, here are the games where she actually speaks. First, we have March of the Minis, which I've marked with a question mark, as we hear Pauline gasp in the opening cutscene, and blow a kiss at the end of the game. But she never actually says anything proper. It's impossible to know who gasped that gasp. But for what it's worth, the kiss is actually a stock sound effect called human kiss, long kiss. Then, in Minnie's March Again, Pauline gains a new sound effect, a high-pitched help, similar to what Miyamoto planned in the 80s.
Help! Help!
The identity of the person behind this help is, again, a mystery, since the Mario vs. Donkey Kong series is developed by Nintendo Software Technology, or NST, a Nintendo studio based in the US, it's not unlikely that it was one of the developers at the studio who recorded this line. Next is Miniland Mayhem, where Pauline's voice gets a complete overhaul. The high-pitched help is replaced with a number of deeper-sounding voice lines. Take a listen.
Help! Help! Mario! Please, save me! At last! Oh, Mario, my hero.
The game also introduces Pauline Minis, which receive a whole selection of voice clips of their own.
All right. Woohoo! Oh no! Yay!
So again, there's a possibility that these voice lines were recorded by an employee at NST, or perhaps by an actual contracted voice actor? It's hard to say. The next game, Minis on the Move, reuses a few of Miniland Mayhem's voice lines, though a few new phrases have also been introduced,
Hi there.
No way.
Bye-bye.
with the voice sounding almost the same. And then finally, we have Tipping Stars, which I marked with a question mark again. That's because this game simply reuses sound effects from the previous game for both Pauline and the mini Paulines too. So there we have it. Donkey Kong 94 features a mystery woman. Minnie's March Again features a second mystery woman. Miniland Mayhem features a third mystery woman.
Help!
And Minnie's on the Move has more voice lines for Pauline,
Hi there.
which may have been recorded by Mystery Woman number 3, or perhaps even by a fourth Mystery Woman. In other words, this era is staggeringly inconsistent, marked by numerous short voice lines, which are attributed to no voice actor in particular. And that seemed the state of affairs when it came to Pauline's voice. But then, in 2017, Pauline was thrust into the limelight like never before, and she was given a new voice to match. Part 4. The New Pauline. So, before we talk about Pauline's speaking voice in Super Mario Odyssey, we first need to explore her singing voice, because that's what came first in the game's development. When Nintendo's developers began work on Super Mario Odyssey, they held a big brainstorming session where anyone on the staff could suggest ideas for the game. From the start, the team planned on including a stage based on a large city. According to the game's producer, Yoshiaki Koizumi, even in real life, sometimes you think about how fun it would be to wall jump between buildings. That inspired the team to create a skyscraper-filled city level, which eventually began resembling New York City. That, of course, was the setting of the original Donkey Kong game, which inspired Odyssey's developers to include numerous references to Donkey Kong, and also to Pauline, who was given a new role, Mayor of the City. During one of those brainstorming sessions, Odyssey's lead composer Naoto Kubo proposed an idea where the player gathered up band members from around the city, which would add instruments to a live musical performance. According to Kubo himself, the idea grew and grew. If players were going to gather band members, we wanted to include a festival. And if we were holding a festival, we'd need a lead singer too. Before I knew it, I was writing a so-called signature song for Super Mario Odyssey with English lyrics, so we could use it to promote the game worldwide. So Kubo tried writing various genres of songs before landing on big band jazz. He started with a simple melody, Odyssey, 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 before he fleshed it out into a full song. By the way, Kubo was playing an early prototype of the game at the time and used that to help tune his ideas. The Japanese song lyrics were written by Kubo's co-worker, Nobuyushi Suzuki, the game's sound designer. Once those lyrics were complete, the team had a Japanese singer record a kind of preliminary version of the song, and the next step was to translate it into English. And for that, we need to travel to Nintendo of America. Nintendo Treehouse is the department within Nintendo of America which translates and localizes the company's games into English. And it was translator and musician Rob Tunstall who was tasked with translating Jump Up Superstar into English. Nintendo sent him over that demo track I mentioned, and Rob got to work on his own set of lyrics. These lyrics went through a number of revisions. Nintendo's Japanese staff was clear that while they wanted to get the gist of their meaning across, what was more important was making the song catchy and easy to sing. As the two divisions of Nintendo bounced lyrics back and forth, Rob would send his Japanese colleagues recordings of himself singing his work-in-progress lyrics. I settled into a pattern of adjusting and rewriting the lyrics, sending those around internally at Nintendo of America for more feedback, recording a demo, sending that to Japan, getting more feedback, rewriting, and then doing all of that again. Take a listen to one of his recordings.
This time we're off the rails, here we go, let's raise our sails, it's freedom like you never knew. Grab a coin, make a wish, and the goddess might just blow a kiss. You could say my hat is off to you. We can zoom all the way to the moon from this great wide wacky world. Jump with me, grab coins with me, oh yeah. Together we can live our dreams. This love is what it seems. So keep your chin up as you trek along.
In the meantime, Nintendo of America reached out to a voice acting agency called Cup of Tea Productions. Nintendo asked this agency if they knew of any voice actors who could sing jazz. And this is where Kate Higgins enters the story. Kate Higgins is an American singer and voice actress born in Virginia. After majoring in music in Alabama, she moved hundreds of miles across America to pursue a career in singing. However, it wasn't long before Higgins was roped into the world of voiceover, and she now boasts an impressive resume of characters. Sailor Mercury from Sailor Moon, Sakura from the Naruto franchise. In the past, she's voiced Barbie, Tails, and that just scratches the surface of Kate Higgins' impressive career. And so, in the mid-2010s, Higgins was contacted about this possible role in Super Mario Odyssey. Not that she was told she was auditioning for a Mario game. I was asked by my friends at Cup of Tea Studio, who were doing all the voice recording, if I was interested in singing a song for a Nintendo video game. They recommended me to the client in Japan, so Japan had me audition, basically by sending them some samples of my voice. They were looking for someone who could sing in that jazz swing style. I don't know if other women were in the running or not, but fortunately they liked what I sent them, and they said, yes, let's do it. Now, you might have noticed that Higgins only mentioned that the client wanted her to sing a song. And that's because for the vast majority of the recording session, Higgins was singing, not speaking. She and the recording staff began with recording Jump Up Superstar. Then they moved on to the game's second vocal song, Break Free, Lead the Way. It wasn't till after that that they moved on to recording Pauline's speaking lines. I worked on both songs for the game before I voiced her, says Kate Higgins. They waited till probably the last 30 minutes of the second session before the director talked to me about her voice. I think we came up with the voice fairly quickly. And so, in the end, Nintendo ended up with 2 songs and a whole bunch of voice clips for Pauline. Take a listen.
Hello? Hi. Huh? Oh. Wow. Woohoo! Yeah. And if the dark clouds start to swirl, don't fear them, shed a tear, 'cause I'll be your one-up girl.
As a side note, after Kate Higgins recorded her English versions of Jump Up Superstar and Break Free, Nintendo in Japan actually had Japanese versions of the two songs recorded. The singer was Aimi Mukohara, a singer-songwriter. She explained in an interview, "Kate's version was recorded before mine, and the demo was sung by a Japanese singer-songwriter who happens to be my friend. So that was not me. One of the members of the sound team was looking for a singer, and there were some candidates. They listened to my YouTube videos and liked my voice." Now, before Super Mario Odyssey's release, Pauline was a fairly obscure character within the world of Mario. But with Odyssey, Pauline skyrocketed to a whole new level of fame. She's since appeared in Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Mario Party, and 2 Mario Kart games. In all these projects, Pauline continues to be voiced by Kate Higgins. And that would be the end of the video. But there's one more project to throw a spanner in the works. The Super Mario Bros. Movie. Part 5. The Movie. So we all know that the 2023 Super Mario Bros. Movie doesn't make use of the voice cast from the Mario game series. Charles Martinet, voice of Mario, gets a cameo role, but that's it. So, while Kate Higgins continues to voice Pauline in the games, that's not the case when it comes to the Mario movie. Because yes, it turns out Pauline makes a minor cameo appearance in the Mario movie. She's the mayor of New York City, which is obviously in reference to her role as the mayor of New Donk City in Super Mario Odyssey. And this is what she sounds like.
Everything is under control, I promise you. We are very close to fixing this.
But who voices her? Well, it turns out this mystery voice was actually actress Jessica DeChico. DeChico is another hugely prolific voice actress, having appeared in cartoons like Adventure Time, The Buzz on Maggie, Winx Club, The Mighty Bee, and more. And in 2021, DeChico was contacted about appearing in a mystery upcoming film. Unusually, she didn't have to audition. DeChico put that to her Italian last name. I went in and they were like, "It's the Mario Bros. Movie." And I was like, oh my god. I didn't want to get too excited as I was doing it, because you never know if you're going to get cut out or something. It wasn't really real until I was walking the red carpet. So DeChico actually voices a bunch of characters in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. Mario's mum, Yellow Toad, Baby Peach, Baby Luigi's bully, the woman from the Mario Bros. Advert, and of course, Mayor Pauline.
Everything is under control, I promise you. We are very close to fixing this.
And that is everything there is to know about Pauline's various voices, from the arcade game in 1981 to Pauline's most recent appearance, Super Mario Party Jamboree.
Yes!
Personally, I love Pauline. I really like Kate Higgins' portrayal of the character. It's so cool that since Odyssey, Pauline has truly become a main Mario character. And I think she really rounds out the 4 main female Mario characters: Peach, Daisy, Rosalina, and Pauline. Each one has a distinct and unique personality, and their own unique history with the Mario series. But the one whose history goes back the longest is, of course, Pauline, who's been there alongside Mario since the very beginning. Thank you so much to my supporters on Patreon for helping make videos like this one possible. In particular, thanks to my top-tier supporters: Alison Withenall, Brandon Pimental, Brett and Derek, Candy Crystal, Cyprian Eov, Daryl Gero, Ellie Birnbaum, Evan Kinney, hi there and bye, J.E., Jim Gilsonan, Kieran Chan, Kelly Wright, Lucas Little, Michael Gunter, Skater Pie, and Thomas Söderland.